Popper Etude No. 10 is a very rich and romantic sounding piece from the romantic composer Popper, and it's one of the few etudes that's marked with a character word instead of a tempo word. It's marked appassionato, so we want to give it a rich tone and a strong character. You know, and it's marked forte at the beginning, but let's not play a forte that is a kind of harsh forte. Let's be mindful of how the bow sets into the string so that it's not just an attack with a hit, and it's also not too slow of a bloom on the bow. Let's feel how the bow sets in and then pulls and lifts the sound out of the cello. And one of the tasks for this etude is to give the same kind of depth of bow stroke on the up bows as we give on the down bows, so that we have an equality of rich sound as we go along. Now, these harmonies in the second and third measure are hard to hear. It's easy to lose track of what our tonality is so that we hear what we want to play. It's important to know what the harmony is, I think, so that it's not just a patch of difficult individual notes. Let's make it a chord sequence. Those are all pretty traditional harmonies that we're used to hearing, and that's the harmonies for measures 2 and 3. But part of what makes Popper's music, and Wagner's, and Liszt's, and many other romantic composers, what makes this music so colorful is all of the non-chord notes. So this first half measure of measure 2 is a G chord, but with lots of non-chord tones. The A flat and the F sharp wrap around the G and then finally resolve to the G. And the accented note, the E flat, is not part of the chord. And then it resolves to the D. I think this next harmony is a C7 chord in an inversion with the B flat in the bottom. But again, the second and third note resolve. The accented note resolves. So it's important to hear the harmony, and that way you recognize which notes should clash and which notes are the harmony notes. And Popper put an accent on the clashing note just to help it have that appassionato feeling. And then just stay in forte all the time, but then a little relaxation within your forte for the resolution. This is an F chord. And I think an Italian augmented sixth chord. And then this measure with all of its little chromatic bits is just that. It's a G dominant 7 chord leading back to C minor at measure 5. So if you hear those harmonies, it makes sense out of those measures rather than just a hodgepodge of strange kind of chromatic notes. It's actually pretty simple harmonies, but with very colorful clashing notes. And in these measures, again, the same goal that I already mentioned about have the up bows sink into the string so they sound like your down bows. And so supple, flexible shock absorbers in your bow hand so the bow can sink in, but without being harsh and scratchy. harmonies this time. So again, if you're aware of which notes are the real chord notes and which ones aren't, makes it easy to hear, and it gives you an idea for how to play expressively, to lean on the clashing notes and relax within forte. Relax just a little to the resolutions. And here Popper bowed it differently, so every bass note is on a down bow, so we don't have that same issue that we had in the second measure. Be sure to follow the string indications, the Roman numerals in most editions. And that raises the question, should we always follow the fingerings in Popper etudes? Some of them are just very old-fashioned and you wouldn't play things that way here in this age, in the 21st century of cello playing. But I like to use the fingerings in this etude. I think I sometimes accidentally do a couple things different, but for here, you want to go to this F on the G string, and since you're in that position, you're ready to go all the way to the top. So follow the indications for which string to play on. And then double flats, but you know, it's just a diminished 7 chord. As a reminder, diminished 7 chord is a chord made up of all minor thirds. That's our ears are used to that because it's a very frequent part of our harmonic vocabulary. But so these complicated arpeggios are just a diminished 7 chord. And it's the same harmony for 2 measures. So 9 and 10, that whole line, it's the same harmony. So it's actually it's colorful. Diminished 7s always have this sense of mystery because they can resolve anywhere, but it's an easy harmony to hear. And once you hear it, it's the same harmony for the whole line. And this is the same phrase as measure 8. Again, up the G string. I allow myself a harmonic there. It makes it easy to jump back for the next thing in first position. I always find that last half of measure 13 to be hard to hear, the D flat and then the G flat. Oops. So it's a lowered third finger. So 3 and 2 are a half step apart. And in measure 14, they didn't print 6s over the groups of notes to show that it's sextuplets, but it is. So you were going in 16th, and then and the string crossings make it kind of automatic that you play the right rhythm. When you do those arpeggios, if you get to the next beat on time, then you automatically play sextuplets. And so in the measure 14 at the end, the first 3 are the same speed as the sextuplet, so it's a triplet 16th, and then a duple. So triplet, 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 duple, and then you change gears back into 16th notes. And again, our friend diminished 7. First measure of the second page, the downward part of the scale, be sure to use extensions where you can so that you're efficient in your left hand work and not shifting so often. This is a shift to the D. The C sharp can just be an extension. Then you do have to shift for the B, and you have an open A, so it's easy to find B flat even with a shift, but I'm still thinking of an extension for the B flat. Yeah. I think that's so much better than if we shift every time first finger moves. Just so much activity. We lose the stability of our position work on the cello. I have to remind myself to let the bow sink into the string on that open G. And here's the recap. Here it's fortissimo, while at the beginning of the etude it was forte. I don't make too much effort to play louder here. I don't want to play so forcefully that my tone becomes too harsh. So, but a big sound no matter what. And then the fork in the road at the recap is already here at the second measure. And then, Popper etudes go on such interesting harmonic adventures. But here, for 2 whole measures, he stays in D minor. So, this is an opportunity to be efficient by leaving fingers down. You can leave that 2 down on the F, on the D string, because you're coming right back to it. Whoops, I played a wrong note in there, didn't I? And now, after those 2 measures of stability in D minor, now the harmonies are changing every beat. So we go up to high F in D minor. And now be aware of the common tones that link one harmony to another. The F stays, but it's not D minor anymore. Now it's D flat major. And actually, there is no common tone to the next harmony, just suddenly a G major. The D stays the common tone to change from G to B flat. The B flat stays the common tone to change to G flat major. The the B is the common tone, B flat that is, to change to E flat major. And now he stays on E flat major. And then G as dominant to head back to the home key of C minor. So again, if you're aware of harmonies, it makes it easier for your ear to develop its understanding of the piece. Yes, there is a harmonic marked for that thumb. That's a nice convenience, makes us safe for intonation. You know what? I don't use a harmonic for this D though, because if I play harmonic, I feel that I'm iffier to find the B flat. So I play I do play harmonic for that one. I play solid for this D because it makes it easier for me to measure the shift to B flat. And boy, is that an inconvenient hand position. The position where thumb is on G. I can't even reach the high G with third finger unless I do some extra motion. So my thumb stays anchored, but basically my hand has to do a shift for third finger. Even though I have an average sized hand, that's necessary for me to play that high G in tune. But you know what? In real life, I might not use that fingering. If you're into alternate fingerings for your popper etudes, you can't just stay in the position with the octaves on B flats and the G is a harmonic. I think it actually sounds pretty good. Whoops, if it speaks. Or even another alternative would be to just come back to without thumb. But usually when I practice this etude, I use that difficult thumb fingering just for the exercise value. We might avoid that fingering when we can in real life, quote unquote real life, but sometimes it's necessary to have, when you're in thumb position, to have some motion within your hand. So here's an opportunity to practice that. And now we're back to C minor, the home key for the piece. And again, for two measures, he stays in C minor, climbing up. In fact, I think he pretty much stays in C minor to the end of the piece. Oh, a difficult little passage to play fourth finger while thumb is holding down. And oof, it's hard to play it in tune. And you know why it's hard to play it in tune? When your hand leans forward to help fourth finger, it's easy for thumb to lose its solid stop. So make sure that some thumb stays solid, especially on the A string. I have to remind myself to keep the weight on the A string under my thumb. And you know what? In all of this thumb position work, like where we climbed up in C minor, the line above, one of my mantras to work on intonation is small half steps, because it's just so easy for half steps to get a little wide and then our intonation goes sour. So remind yourself of small half steps. And same thing here in this double stop business. Keep the second finger E flat low enough, especially after you play fourth finger. It'll want to be up there close to fourth finger, the higher note. I have to make sure to keep my two low when I come back to it at that moment. Oops, left out a note. And then we have this little figure 5 times in a row. Again, keep your thumb solid even while a little weight from your arm goes towards third finger. You know, a little small challenge here is when you play the slur to the double stop, how to make it a smooth connection without the G string sounding like a grace note. So you just do a little bow magic, a little portato action with your bow. So your bow's not driving the sound much when it touches the G string, and then as soon as you touch the D string, the bow is back to its regular sound. So I have to remind myself, this happens 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're home free with a little disappearing act in C minor. So that's Popper Etude number 10 and some of the things I think about when I practice it. I hope that's helpful. Have fun.